Welcome to Understanding the Unhoused. My name is Joshua. Through a series of interviews with people who have direct experience with homelessness, as well as people who are attempting to address the systemic issues that cause homelessness, my hope is to increase compassion and empathy for this population that has long been ignored. Back when I moved to California, I volunteered with an organization out of Fremont called Renegade Feedings. Every other week, Renegade Feedings would go out to homeless encampments around the Fremont area with supplies, clothing, hot meals, anything that people could use dealing with unsheltered homelessness. My biggest takeaway from working with Renegade is that people experiencing homelessness appreciate food, they appreciate clothing, they appreciate hygiene kits. But what they really, really need more than anything else is to be heard and understood. So I decided to create a podcast that would give people that platform. When somebody sees a person experiencing homelessness, they can have a myriad of emotions, both positive and negative. What I hope, after hearing their stories and hearing their struggles, hearing the hope and the resilience that these people have, it will help you to recognize that these are just people. People who, through a series of bad luck, bad choices, and a very broken system, have found themselves without a roof over their heads. Okay, enough ado. In a previous episode, I interviewed Mary Thoreau, editor of the book Beyond Homeless. Beyond Homeless goes into various organizations across the country that are working to bring an end to homelessness. And one of the most exciting groups she talked about was Haven for Hope, located in San Antonio, Texas. I had to speak to someone about Haven for Hope, and that led me to this interview with Terri, the Director of Communications at Haven for Hope. Our conversation touches on the various aspects that go into keeping such an elaborate system in place, the struggles of bringing something to this scale in other parts of the country, and the optimism Haven for Hope can give to people who are experiencing homelessness. I did want to mention that around the 4-minute mark, Terri mentions Hurricane Harvey. She reached out to me after our conversation and clarified she meant to say Hurricane Katrina. Please enjoy the interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Terri.
No problem.
Yeah, I heard about Haven for Hope when I interviewed Mary Thoreau, who edited the Beyond Homeless book, and she said that you guys are a model for how things should be done. And I was like, I need to hear from somebody involved in how this goes on. Let's talk about you first. How did you get involved with Haven for Hope?
Well, I joined Haven for Hope June 1st of 2022 as Director of Communications and was not familiar with Haven for Hope. Moved to San Antonio from Florida in May of 2020. So I was fairly new to San Antonio and to Texas. We moved here after living in Florida for 21 years. So a mutual friend told me about the job, and I am the first official full-time Director of Communications, and it's been quite a ride. I'm really enjoying it and really appreciate the work that we do in the community. It's an opportunity to kind of build the program from the ground up. And
that's excellent.
I came to the interview, met the team, took a tour, was really impressed by the work and the meaning behind the work, and felt it was a good fit for me.
So let's go into that. What is the work that is being done there for our listeners?
Sure. Haven for Hope became operational in June of 2010, so we just celebrated 15 years during 2025. And we are a 22-acre campus helping individuals and families experiencing homelessness in Bexar County and the city of San Antonio. So we are called a one-stop shop. The whole premise behind Haven was for it to be a place to not only access shelter and have your basic needs met, but also to have access to the resources an individual would need to get back on their feet and transform their lives out of homelessness. So our founder, Mr. Bill Greehey, when he did a tour of 200 different cities looking at how those cities and communities address homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
He and the committee that were tasked with bringing this to San Antonio found that the most successful places coupled shelter with services.
Absolutely.
Because if you're staying at a homeless shelter, but your medical appointments are across town and takes, 2 different bus routes, or signing up for benefits, or getting your ID recovered, when all of those appointments are scattered across a geographical area, it makes it difficult for our clients to be motivated to go do the work that needs to be done. So they don't have to go anywhere. It's all done here through great partnerships in our community.
So how did that get formed? It seems so potentially chaotic that it's amazing that you've managed to streamline it all.
And I wish I would have been here since the beginning. Our mayor at the time, Mayor Phil Hardberger, during one of his State of the City addresses, probably it was 2006, maybe 2007, he said, San Antonio, he looked out to the business leaders in the audience and said, San Antonio, we're seeing an increase of individuals experiencing homelessness, folks, unsheltered and on our streets. And San Antonio had recently helped a number of evacuees from Houston after Hurricane Harvey. And helped people get connected to resources and take temporary shelter in our convention center. And so the thought was, if we can do that for people from another town, why can't we do that for our own city?
Right.
So Mr. Greehey at the time was president and chairman, CEO of New Star Energy, which was a spinoff of Valero. So Mr. Greehey is an oil and gas man here in Texas. Okay. And he called the mayor and said, are you serious about doing something? This is what I've been told how the conversation went. Are you serious about doing something for the homeless? And the mayor said, I am. And Mr. Greehey said, sign me up. And he said, great, you're going to be chair of the committee to make it happen. So it really was magical because you had the money behind Mr. Greehey and his philanthropic spirit. He's always been a contributor to many organizations in San Antonio and has a family foundation that has been generous throughout the years. But he also made it a part of the culture at New Star Energy. So when we first opened our doors, we utilized a lot of their staff to help us with different things. For instance, designing our logo, putting together some of the initial marketing materials and some of the expertise that was at New Star Energy. Staff were able to volunteer their time and help out Haven. But the concept of bringing other nonprofits into Haven's campus, when we first opened, the intent was Haven staff would be very small and sort of be the facilitators or the landlords of the facility. And then the partners had the expertise to provide the services. And through the years, we've just evolved. And over the course of 15 years, we continued to add staff. Partners came and went. We were able to take over some of the operations, and now we're sitting at about 300 staff members, and we're serving 1,350 on average each day. And we operate, 365 days a year. So yes, so we function very similar to a small town. We have our security staff, our life safety team that also are first responders. Nice. We have, the dorm space. We have the food is provided on part of our campus by our San Antonio Food Bank. On the south part of our campus, we have another partner, Faith Kitchen, providing 3 hot meals a day. So it's really a partnership with many organizations who either have an office here or they come to our facilities to provide service. And And one of the other big factors, we get this question a lot when different communities and towns come to see how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the buy-in of the community. Like how do you sell this to the surrounding neighborhoods? And a big value proposition is that not only are dental, medical, and vision care resources available to our clients, they're available to our community as well.
Wow.
So some of those operations are outside of our, security and outside of our dorm spaces, but they're accessible to community members as well. And we also have a YMCA on our property available not only for our clients, but again, for the community around us.
And has there been pushback over the years?
Yeah, so there's a lot of myths out there that people who are experiencing homelessness or people living on the streets not wanting to access services, that they're doing it by choice, that they're lazy, that they're all addicted to drugs, and that they all have behavioral health issues. While some of that may be the case, they aren't there by choice, right?
Yeah,
and I think there's just a lot of misperceptions out there. We have an outreach team that are making great headways in our community. And it's not just our outreach workers, but it's our entire community, the city, the county, other nonprofits helping clients experiencing homelessness and unsheltered homelessness. You have to really build trust, right? So you have to introduce yourself, provide a sandwich, a bottle of water, and just ask someone, is there anything I could do for you? Do you want to come to shelter? Do you want to access resources? And if they don't, being okay with that, but continuing to check on them. Our outreach team will tell you it can take 7 to 10 meaningful interactions to get somebody to trust you.
Yeah.
So it's getting to the root of it. Why don't you want to come to shelter? And then trying to break down those barriers. We have 2 sides of campus. I'm sure Mary may have spoke of this, but we have what we call North Campus and South Campus. On North Campus, there's an expectation that you are going to work on your housing and income plan while you're here. There's no time limit as to how long you can stay here. You do have to have been a Bexar County resident for at least 12 months in the past 2 years. And that is because we really are here to serve the residents of Bexar County. That's why we were created. Yeah. And then on South Campus, that's called our low barrier shelter. So there is access to all of the resources that Haven has to offer, but it's an opt-in. Okay, so if I encounter you, Joshua, on a Tuesday and I say, hey, Joshua, how's it going? Can I connect you to counseling today? You say, nope, buzz off, leave me alone. I say, okay, and leave you be. But you're also getting safe indoor sleeping, access to 3 hot meals a day, showers, your basic needs are being met. Once we've built that trust, I know that someday you're going to say, I am ready. I am ready to go talk to someone in housing. I am ready to go get my ID recovered. Whatever that looks like for that individual, again, no time limit. And, it's the small wins. When you have someone who had untreated, undiagnosed behavioral health issues get to a point where they were so sick, making the realization that they needed help, getting on medication and being able to see clearly. And understand that they needed that help, because before that, they didn't understand that. And that's what we encounter, on the streets. You may go up to somebody who clearly is not in a safe environment, and you want them to go to shelter, but they don't realize they're not safe.
The stigma around shelters is also, I think, probably a deciding factor for folks, because, they're so notoriously badly run and a very dangerous place for folks to go, that most people that I've talked to in the course of this podcast would rather be on the streets or living in their cars than be in a shelter. So that you
And
can
we
provide.
battled that as well. Hmm.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I will say Haven has evolved. When we first opened our doors, South Campus was more of a your super basic needs were provided. You slept
Okay.
outdoors. You didn't necessarily
Oh,
get a hot meal. And it was kind of like, don't you want to transition to the North Campus?
got it.
It didn't work, and we don't operate that way. We have evolved in 15 years. We've learned a lot about the population. We've learned a lot about being trauma informed, having person-centered plans. And we've gone through the
Yep.
training to become a trauma-informed certified agency. I know that. But
That's
we've learned
beautiful.
a lot. We've learned hiring people with lived experience as support specialists is so key. But we do hear
Absolutely.
complaints about you've got too many rules. Well, there's 1,400 people, give or take,
Yeah.
all staying here. Some congregate spaces, some with their own spaces. And there are some community norms and expectations that we have of our clients, and we hold them accountable because we would rather have people here who want to be here so we can
Yeah.
help more people. And the
Absolutely.
average length of stay is about 4 months. So being able to turn over those beds and know that we are providing the best care we can and people are transitioning into housing, they're leaving Haven, and statistically, over the last 15 years, and I'll send you a link to the report, 65% of the 52,108 individuals we served in the last 15 years only stayed at Haven once. And they didn't go into any other homeless provider in San Antonio, according to our data. So
Wow.
that speaks volumes to what we're doing here works. There's
Yep.
still going to be chronic homelessness that we're battling. There's still going to be those who, like you said, would rather live on the streets than come into a
Mhm.
shelter.
Mhm.
And we just have to meet people where they are.
When you have that many people, at what scale do people meet to try and figure out the best way to progress forward?
Absolutely. So like I said, on North Campus, there is that expectation that you're meeting regularly with your case management team, right?
Yes.
So you're meeting with the housing team, you're meeting with our income and skills development team. We're sitting down with you and working on your goals, and it's not a prescribed plan for anyone because
Right.
each individual has a different path, right? So
Yep.
as long as you're actively working on that, we do have a curfew. Meal times are certain times of the day. So when I talk about that structure and the rules, it's really to help maintain our facilities and, be
Right.
able to operate at our scale. But that doesn't mean that you can't come and go as you please. If you want to go stay with family for a night, you can do that and not lose your spot. So we want to treat everyone, obviously as autonomous adults, and we
Mhm.
just have
Mhm.
certain expectations. So on North Campus, there is an expectation that you will be sober while staying at Haven. We have a partner agency called Pay It Forward that is operating a sober living dormitory for
Nice.
individuals who have been through a recovery program and they need a transitional program before they go back
Yeah.
out into community. Plus we have families staying on North Campus. So
Wow.
then you say, well, what
Yeah.
about our low barrier campus? Low barrier is a different story. You can come through our security under the influence. You just can't use on our property. But, I would rather have somebody come in on South Campus under the influence and be sleeping where there's a lot of eyes than be sleeping out on the streets. So,
Yep.
we have those different programs in place and people can come and go as they please. We do have a curfew. We do have exceptions for that curfew. If you get a job and you're working a late shift or an overnight shift, we
Oh,
can make those accommodations. Make sure you get a
fantastic.
sack lunch. Make sure you have a place to sleep during the day if you're a shift overnight worker. So,
Yep. No, because I mean that's one of the complaints I've heard the most about shelters is like if you have a job that you work up to a certain point, you can't get in after that time, and then you're
yeah.
left out.
No,
So
we have
I
exceptions
love
for
that.
that.
I love it. So, do you know what effect it's had on the homeless population in San Antonio?
You know that it's so cyclical and it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
that's
hard to
fair.
say. I can say when we first opened our doors, homelessness in downtown San Antonio went down by about 77% because they all came here.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it's one of those things where the city of our size, I think, while it feels we have a lot of individuals experiencing homelessness compared to other cities, I think our numbers are fairly low, and I would have to refer you to a continuum of care and their point in time counts. But
Yes. Fair.
you know, we're serving average of 7,000 a year, so
Wow.
that's a lot of folks. You
That is
know,
a lot of folks. Wow.
but it's also people who might be experiencing very short term homelessness, if that makes sense. Say for
Of
instance,
course.
I lose my job, I get behind on my bills, I get evicted. In the meantime, I have found another job. I just don't have the money saved up for the security deposit first and last month's rent. So I might need a place like Haven for only a few days to a few weeks, and we offer some shallow subsidy programs where it's like, hey, if that's all you need is your security deposit application fee, you know, we can help you with that. You have every spectrum from that to somebody who's been on the streets for 15 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, finally comes to Haven and seeks resources. And we couldn't do this work without our partners.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
I can't speak enough about the importance of collaboration and having resources easily available for people. So you really can't make an excuse. Oh, it's too hard to get to that appointment.
Yeah.
Not if it's across campus.
Right. Because that is also another thing I hear a lot is like, yeah, you're out on the streets, you need to do all this stuff, and yeah, you got to travel from one side of town to the other, nothing's in the same place. This needs to go everywhere.
If you're applying for a job and you're applying for housing, you need an address. A shelter provides that address, right? So people are able to put One Haven for Hope Way as their address to get the ball rolling, get access to their benefits, you know, and get their ID recovered and all of the things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing. So I know you guys have a lot of other cities coming out to see what you do. Do you know if anyone else is like, have you worked with anyone directly on getting something else set up somewhere else? Like, or is it just like they come out, they study it, and then they go back and try and make their own thing happen?
It's a little of both. Campus for Hope is being built in Las Vegas, and our most recent president and CEO was tapped to go build it. So that is one that is going to be very closely modeled after our North Campus. So they're going to have a similar model. Obviously, it's going to vary depending on the community. I just spoke with somebody today in Wichita, Kansas. There is a facility in Wichita that opened about 2 years ago. Similar to Haven, they made reference to Haven where it's shelter plus resources all in one location. Houston's trying to do something similar. Dallas has been trying to put together something similar. And, you know, what we tell everyone when they come here, it has to work for your community. You have to have the private-public partnerships. You need to have the political backing. Obviously, you need that support, and you need the community support and the space. We were very, very fortunate to have this property available close to downtown.
That is
We're
fantastic.
close to transit lines. We're close to downtown resources. So there were already abandoned warehouses on our property that had been vacant for
Oh,
years. So we
sure.
were able to repurpose those buildings and then construct some new buildings for our dorm settings and our sleeping areas and areas for clients.
Where does the
Okay.
money come from for it?
A
Where's your
lot of
funding?
different sources.
Oh, okay, good.
A lot of
No, it's
different
beautiful to
sources.
hear because when you have one source, then things can go bad so easily. So that's
Correct.
great.
So we have
Yeah.
always had a good mix. When we first opened, I would say we were more heavy on the private side and less on the
Hmm.
public side, and now it's kind of been a flip of that, and now it's leveling out a little, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
obviously during the COVID era, we were fortunate to receive some federal funding and things to help operations. But as that money has been depleted, we are relying more now on private giving. So historically, we've raised anywhere from 7 to 9 million privately, and
Okay.
now it's getting
Wow.
closer to 10 to 11 million in private funds that we're having to secure. We get money
Still.
from the city, the county, the state. The United Way is a big supporter, but private giving, we've always had a good mix of private and public funding, and I think that's been very helpful to the evolution of our services. When you have private giving, there's more flexibility in how the money is used, and you can kind of evolve your programs, change your programs, whereas some of the public funding is very specific and has specific parameters. So we always encourage anyone wanting to build something similar is to have a good mix.
So what's your client mix like?
I mean, it does vary.
Obviously
We
the
have, it's varied through the years. In the time that I've been here, we've seen an increase in young adults, 18 to 24-year-olds.
Ooh. Okay.
We've seen an increase in family homelessness and an increase in 65 plus. As we are seeing the aging population, the support systems aren't quite there. And so we are seeing an increase in those 65 and older. And we're not a skilled nursing facility, right? So that becomes very difficult. Our clients need to meet their activities of daily life, in order to enroll at Haven, because we just simply do not have the capacity to be a skilled nursing facility. But the young adults can be alarming. A lot of it's aging out of the foster care. And not having the support system. So we've dedicated some specialized programming and case management to that population, as well as the 65 plus, helping them navigate their benefits. We have a strong vet team who are made up of all veterans themselves. So we serve the veteran population. You know, we have quite the mix.
What's the biggest takeaway you've had from this role?
That homelessness can happen to anyone. I think once we can all look in the mirror and say, it could be me, it really helps change your perspective as you're driving around. I've heard some pretty incredible stories. I've met some clients that will forever have an impact on me. It's hard work. It takes a lot out of you, but it's also very humbling to know that at any time that could be any one of us, and that homelessness does not discriminate. And there are solutions out there, and we just need to come together to put those solutions in place, and everything from preventative programming and dollars to affordable housing. Every city's experiencing that, I believe, across the country. That just as prices go up, and you know, when I first started working here and we were dealing with some of the issues with inflation and stuff, we're the laggard, right? We see things later.
Yeah.
We had the moratorium on evictions during COVID. Well, guess what? When that ended, we saw an increase in people
Huge,
experiencing
I would
homelessness.
imagine.
So
Yeah.
we're always seeing things after the fact, and so we'll often get asked, well, what about inflation and this, that, and the other? Well, we're going to see it down the road because people are going to hang on as long as they can. And then we're seeing them show up at our doorstep. So I'm very proud of San Antonio and Bexar County at the way we tackle this as a community and a collaborative. The city of San Antonio passed a housing bond a few years back for affordable housing, and they have a strategic housing implementation plan, and we all work together for the best results, and I think that makes a big difference.
Hi again. Thanks for listening. Here at Understanding the Unhoused, I'm always trying to find new viewpoints, new people that I can talk to, new stories of what it's like to experience homelessness. So if you know anyone that has a story they'd like to tell, please direct them to understandingtheunhoused.org. There they can go to the contact button, reach out to us, and we can make things happen. I'm based out of San Francisco, California, and on a regular basis I try and go out with water, food, and supplies to help the unhoused in this city. If that is something that interests you, also please go to understandingtheunhoused.org and reach out. I hope after hearing these stories, you will walk away with a little more compassion, a little more empathy, and a better understanding of the unhoused.